Welcome to the Think Forward podcast, where we speak with futurists, innovators, and big thinkers. Come along with your host, Steve Fisher, and explore the future together.
Welcome back to Foundations in Foresight, a Think Forward series. I'm your host, Steve Fisher, and today we enter the applying phase of the Spectrum Foresight method, the part where foresight stops being theoretical and becomes actionable. In our last episode, we explored the designing phase, where we built vivid, layered, multi-perspective futures using spectrum layered analysis, SLA. We learned that the future isn't one dominant scenario, but a spectrum of coexisting experiences, and we saw how layered futures help us prepare for complexity. But here's the challenge. Insights without action are just speculation. If we don't apply what we learn from future scenarios, then all that work, scanning, mapping, designing, doesn't lead to meaningful change. That's what today's episode is all about. How to move from foresight to action. We're going to explore why foresight often fails to create impact and how to fix it. The Futures Action Framework, a structured way to turn futures thinking into decisions. How to embed foresight into daily decision-making at an individual and organizational level. Case study, using AI-driven workforce scenarios to inform corporate strategy. By the end of this episode, you'll have practical tools for turning strategic foresight into real-world outcomes that shape innovation, leadership, and long-term planning. Let's dive in. The first thing we should talk about is why foresight often fails without action. There's a common problem in the world of foresight. It often stays trapped in reports, workshops, and conference rooms. Organizations invest in scanning trends, crafting scenarios, and running future-thinking exercises. But when it's time to act, those insights don't translate into decision-making. Why does this happen? 3 key reasons. First is the future as a report trap. Many organizations treat foresight as a one-time study rather than a continuous embedded practice. Reports get written, executives skim them, and then business continues as usual. Next up is the lack of clear decision-making links. Many scenarios fail to connect to actual strategy, budgeting, or operational plans, making it difficult for leaders to use them in real-world decision-making. And finally, rigid thinking and resistance to change. Even when foresight presents clear risks and opportunities, organizations may still resist acting on them due to short-term pressures, leadership inertia, or internal politics. So what's the solution? We need a structured way to turn foresight into action. That's where the Futures Action Framework comes in. This leads us to the Futures Action Framework, moving from scenarios to strategy. The Futures Action Framework is a structured process designed to bridge foresight and execution, ensuring that future insights lead to concrete decisions, policies, and innovations. It consists of 4 key steps. 1. Extract insights. Identify the most critical takeaways from scenarios. What risks, opportunities, and shifts do these futures suggest? 2. Prioritize strategic actions. Instead of overwhelming decision-makers with endless possibilities, focus on the most actionable insights. 3. Integrate with decision-making processes. Embed foresight into strategy meetings, leadership planning, product development, and policy frameworks. 4. Create an adaptive roadmap. Instead of rigid plans, develop a flexible, living strategy that adjusts based on new signals and emerging disruptions. Let's break this down in detail. Step 1. Extracting insights from future scenarios. Not every scenario insight is equally important. The first step is to pull out the most critical takeaways that actually matter for decision-making. Ask key questions like, what are the biggest risks we face in these future scenarios? Where are the biggest opportunities for growth or transformation? What early warning signals should we watch for? Who is most impacted in these scenarios? Our employees, customers, partners? For example, let's say we've built an AI-driven workforce scenario where automation is disrupting multiple industries. A few key insights might include risk. If AI replaces knowledge workers faster than expected, companies that don't adapt could face sudden talent redundancies. Opportunity. Companies that invest early in AI-human collaboration training will have a competitive advantage. Early signal. A surge in freelance AI consultants may indicate a shift toward decentralized expertise. These insights become the foundation for action. Step 2. Prioritizing strategic actions. Not every insight requires immediate action. The next step is prioritization, sorting insights into short-term actions, long-term strategies, and areas requiring further monitoring. You can use classic tools like a strategic impact matrix. It is essentially a 2x2. and I used to work at McKinsey, and let me tell you, they love their 2x2s. One axis is low and high impact, and the other is low and high urgency. Here is the layout of the squares. High impact, high urgency, take immediate action. High impact, low urgency, start planning now. Low impact, high urgency, watch closely but don't overreact. Low impact, low urgency, keep on the radar but deprioritize. Applying this to our AI workforce scenario, we might decide immediate action, begin upskilling programs in AI-human collaboration. Long-term strategy, explore new employment models like fractional AI-assisted work. Monitoring priority, track legislation on AI workplace policies. This structured approach prevents overreaction to trends while ensuring critical actions don't get ignored. Step 3. Embedding foresight into organizational decision-making. Foresight shouldn't be a one-time process. It must be woven into everyday business strategy. 3 ways to do this effectively. First is to make foresight a standing agenda item. Ensure that leadership meetings, strategic planning sessions, and innovation workshops always include a future implications discussion. Second is to create foresight champions. Train specific leaders and teams to apply futures thinking in their daily roles, from HR to product development. And third is to use decision scenarios and planning. When making major business decisions, ask, which of our future scenarios does this align with? For example, an organization planning a major hiring initiative could compare their AI workforce scenarios to see if their hiring needs align with future job market trends. The goal is to make foresight a habit, not an afterthought. Now let's apply everything we've covered to a real-world example. Imagine you're the chief strategy officer at a global consulting firm. AI is transforming your industry, and your organization wants to future-proof its workforce strategy. Using the Futures Action Framework, your team. 1. Extracts key insights. AI is automating repetitive consulting tasks, but human expertise in complex problem-solving remains valuable. 2. Prioritizes actions. The firm should immediately invest in AI-assisted consulting models while long-term exploring new career pathways for consultants. 3. Embeds foresight into strategy. Every major HR and hiring decision is now cross-checked against AI workforce scenarios. This ensures the firm is not reacting to AI, but actively shaping its future workforce strategy. Now, some final thoughts and challenge for listeners. As we conclude today's episode, remember, the Spectrum Foresight method isn't about predicting one single future. It's about preparing your organization or yourself to thrive across multiple potential futures, turning uncertainty into a strategic advantage. Thank you for joining me today. In our next episode, we'll introduce the Futures Operating System, a structured framework for embedding foresight into organizational DNA for long-term adaptability. Until next time, keep exploring possibilities, remain flexible, and as always, think forward.
Thanks for listening to the Think Forward podcast. You can find us on all the major podcast platforms and at www.thinkforwardshow.com, as well as on YouTube under Think Forward Show. See you next time.